Afghanistan it's a landlocked country. So apart from Pakistan, its other neighbors are Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan. So it has six neighbors, out of which Pakistan is its eastern neighbor, and the rest are on the way, or in the west or in north. Right now, Iran. To its west is a big country and it's a powerful country. It's a regional actor, it's a regional player, and its relations with the government in power in the last 20 years has been lukewarm, so as to say. Because it's a Shia majority country ruled by the Shia clergy, along, with the blend of experts and domain experts and professionals. And Afghanistan, while it was a democratic regime in Afghanistan, they saw it as a US-backed regime, and which brought in the presence of US troops in the region. So their opposition to the regime, I mean, in a more general sense, in Afghanistan in the last 20 years, they saw it as a pro-US regime, which also had the US troops there. So they were opposed to it. But they pathologically had difficult ties when Taliban was in power in the past. While they worked with Taliban in some tactical way in the last couple of years, Taliban, a full-fledged Taliban government with no representation of any other community, and particularly the Hazaras, will not be a comfortable situation for Iran, and therefore it has to hedge its bet. It's an important country, it's a big country, it's a country which also links South Asia in some ways to Eurasia. So it has an important role to play in terms of connectivity, in terms of economy, in terms of security. Then we come to the northern part of Afghanistan. You have Turkmenistan. Turkmenistan is largely an isolated country, one of the successor states of the Soviet Union. So their approach is largely has been guided by, the way Eurasians think or conduct their foreign policy. Turkmenistan, the boundary between Turkmenistan and Iran, there is a land boundary between Turkmenistan, but it has never been a big player in Afghanistan. Neither it shows any interest to play a big role in Afghanistan. It was present in one of the dialogues last week in Doha, but it is worried if there is a spillover. But it's a sparsely populated country. The borders, it has a reasonably big border with Afghanistan. So if there is a spillover, Turkmenistan will be worried and will be depend a lot on Russia to safeguard them in cases, because they're not known to have they have a strong security apparatus, but it's not known to have a strong army as such, which can stop if there is a spillover. Then we come to Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan is the strongest country among the Central Asian countries, the strongest country that borders Afghanistan. It has huge stakes in Afghanistan. It has built a railway line in Afghanistan and was planning to connect it to Chabahar and subsequently to India via that. It is part of a trans-Afghan network, which is a proposed network via Afghanistan to Indian Ocean via Pakistan. It has a very powerful military. It has an air force, strong air force. It has a strong security apparatus. It is the country which supplies power to Kabul, if one might, And so it has certain leverages vis-a-vis Afghanistan, but it's keeping a very, very close eye on the developments in Afghanistan. And the other country of Central Asia which borders Afghanistan is Tajikistan. Again, Tajikistan is very critical for anybody who has stakes in Afghanistan. India and Russia has worked together with Tajikistan in the past to support the Northern Alliance. There are a substantial number of Tajiks in Afghanistan, like there are a substantial number of Uzbeks in Afghanistan. But that doesn't mean that they have played, neither Uzbekistan nor Tajikistan, to be fair to them, had interfered in Afghan politics as such, and ever wanted that, if unlike Pakistan, which has wanted to have Pashtun-dominated Taliban in power in Kabul, neither Uzbekistan nor Tajikistan has ever called made such interference in Afghanistan to say that, you should have in power, you should have that manpower. The Afghan or the Uzbek or Tajik origin leaders in Afghanistan were leaders in their own rights from their community, be it Dostam or be it Ata Mohammad Noor or currently Amrullah Saleh, who was the former was the vice president, or in the past Ahmed Shah Massoud. And but Tajikistan, from a security point of view, is very important. It is again working very, very closely with Russia. It has a military pact with Russia. Russia has a military presence in Tajikistan. And recently, Russia has conducted drills in both Tajikistan and Uzbekistan, both separately as well as together. And Tajikistan is a member of CSTO, which is not very well known in this part of the world. But the CSTO is Central Security Treaty Organization of the former Soviet republics. And that has been invoked again. And its importance as for tourism particularly. And this all had started functioning even before the fall of Kabul, because Moscow had anticipated, and now I can say correctly, the Taliban would move into Kabul by August. And then we have China, which has a boundary, which has a corridor on the Wakhan corridor to connect to Afghanistan. Now, China's primary concern, and that's why they hosted the Taliban delegation again, I would say they anticipated in ways, and they have no hesitancy in working with Taliban. In fact, they have no hesitancy. Unlike, while the Russians have worked with the Taliban, they are more nuanced, and you see their position is still evolving because Taliban is banned, still continues to be banned in Russia. And they want security guarantees from Taliban. But China is primarily worried about that Taliban should not help radicalize the ETIM, the East Turkestan Islamic Movement, which is comprising of the Uyghurs, and that's a security headache for China. So China would like to have zero impact of the developments in Afghanistan on that, and would like Pakistan to give that security guarantee, given Pakistan-China relations. And but I see the last word on that may not have been said by the Taliban as yet. They have promised, because they also want legitimacy from a P5 country. And they want, there are countries in the world who only survives by doing trade with China. So, you never know. Taliban may be looking at a scenario where their primary trade partner could be China, actually. Later, via trade, China would like Afghanistan to be part of Belt and Road Initiative because it's landlocked, be sandwiched between Central Asia, Persian Gulf, Pakistan, and Pakistan is part of. And many countries here have signed, almost all neighboring countries of Afghanistan have signed up to Belt and Road Initiative. While, on ground, some of those initiatives may work or may not work, but on paper, they are part of this initiative. And China would like to have Afghanistan as part of that as well. And the other neighbor is Pakistan, and we know what role Pakistan has, and that they have been waiting for this day to see Taliban come to power in Kabul, that they have full control. Now, whether they have a full control or not, that's another matter. But, of course, they don't want to overtly come out like last time, but I'm sure that the plan is being chalked out by Pakistan, given to Taliban, who is just parroting those statements wherever they are. Because many Islamic countries have Sharia law, their constitution is based by book, but they don't open the book and run the country. So whether a Taliban-run Afghanistan will be like a theocracy in Iran, which has blend of modernity, or Saudi Arabia, or even countries in North Africa, it remains. I don't expect them to change overnight. So a lot will depend on these factors, on how the relationship up with the neighbors, and what are the security guarantees that they give to Central Asians in particular,